Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Home for Marketers podcast. We have here today with us Hannah McConnaughey. She has been on our speakers panel before. If you've been there with us, she's a UW and AMA alumni, also former VP of marketing, and is now digital marketing manager at Xbox, working with Microsoft. So, welcome, Hannah.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, thank you for sharing your time. I know schedule can be super crazy, especially during COVID time. And yeah, thank you for just supporting the podcast and sharing your advice and experiences with us. So why don't we start with getting to know you a little bit and like a quick introduction of who you are.
Sure. So I'm Hannah, like we literally said, and I was a graduate of the class of 2019. I was a marketing major. I had an English minor. And when I started Foster and when I joined AMA, I really thought my destiny was just going to be copywriting, especially at an ad agency. That was just this, frankly, kind of limited view of what I thought marketing was and what I thought my path could be. Totally did not intend to end up in tech marketing. Went to a recruiting event with my friend just to support her. And, 6 interviews later, I had a tech marketing job all of a sudden. So I worked in commercial PR for Microsoft, which works with our kind of enterprise level customers and partners. I did a year in global exec and employee comms, supporting our CEO and the other leaders at the company. And now I work in Xbox doing digital marketing. So I spend part of my time working on Xbox.com and the other part of my time working on Xbox Social Good, which is everything from cultural campaigns like Black History Month or International Women's Day to sustainability or our charitable partnerships.
Yeah, I did see the campaign on LinkedIn for International Women's Day, and it looks super exciting. So, well,
thanks. That was a fun one to be a part of.
Yeah. So why don't we start off? So the first question is, I guess you were a part of AMA and being on the executive team, and I know you were also involved on campus in so many different ways. So I guess the question is, how did those experiences kind of guide you, along the way, whether that as in like a career standpoint or a personal standpoint, and were there any skills that were transferable from those experiences?
So I think AMA was probably the most helpful for me just because even as a member before I became VP of marketing on exec for 2 years, it just exposed me to so many more marketing jobs than I knew existed. And that's always my number one piece of advice to marketing students in Foster or even people outside of Foster who are just interested in the industry is to find out how many different jobs there are under that umbrella, because it's so much more than copywriting at an ad agency. I think why being VP of marketing at AMA or founding the UW Student Life blog or being really involved with Her Campus, which is an online magazine on campus, really let me kind of develop my own voice. I think we spend a lot of time at school kind of having to follow the exact letter of an assignment or trying to like reverse engineer when you're writing a presentation what you think the case comp judges or your teacher wants to hear. Right. And at the workplace, you aren't given a specific set of instructions. And if you get every single point, it's a perfect score and you did your job perfectly. And I think that time in leadership positions, exec positions on campus gave me a lot more confidence trying out new things, coming up with new ideas, experimenting even. Some stuff worked, some stuff didn't work. And I would really recommend everyone get involved either inside Foster, which has so many great RSOs, but even branching out a little bit outside of, what's now digital, like Packer Hall and Dempsey Hall, just so you get exposed to more opportunities and more, organizations that you can take a part of and make an impact in.
Yeah, I definitely feel that, especially, I guess, like now being a part of the executive team and being able to even start new projects like this podcast that we're starting for the first time. So for those of you who are watching, the leadership positions are also open. So I encourage you to look into that as well. So transitioning to, I guess, your real life, I know a lot of people would probably be interested to see what your day-to-day looks like as a digital marketing manager at Xbox. So could you tell us or give us a glimpse of what it looks like in your schedule or your day-to-day schedule? And is there any project that you're super passionate about and you'd love to share?
It's a good question. And when I came over to Xbox from working in comms on the Microsoft side, something my manager told me was that this is like a whole brain job. So it's like part right brain, more creative, part left brain, very analytical, very logistical. And so in any given day, I get to kind of embrace the creative side, like briefing our design agency on what I want like key art for a new campaign coming up to look like. I get to look at page kind of like mock-ups and give them design feedback. I get to look at like video drafts that are promoting like different things Xbox is doing and give feedback there. And then on the left brain side, I get to look at our data from past campaigns, what performed really well, didn't perform super well, what can we learn from that? There's a lot of kind of tech that goes into the back end, not only of .com, literally building these pages or setting them up to be really discoverable in search engines and things like that. But also we do a ton of experimentation. And so we're also constantly setting up A/B tests. We're running different, copy tests, graphics tests, et cetera, to see like what resonates with people, what gets people to click, what gets people excited about a product and learning more about it. So it's a little bit of everything. I highly, highly recommend digital marketing for someone who feels like they're a mix of both. Yeah. I think the digital part can scare people off, especially since the kind of data analytics track at school is like very, focused on R and kind of those more technical coding components. But, there's a ton of opportunity outside of just R, I promise.
Yeah, kind of following along that, I guess like if students are interested in digital marketing, what advice would you give them? And are there any specific skill sets that you think it would be best for them to kind of start working on early?
So there are a million articles out there. If you look up free certifications for digital marketers, like digital marketing certificates, digital marketing skills, et cetera. So I'm not going to say what 100 other blogs have already said. There's great lists out there around like Google AdWords and SEO and things like that. The one caveat I would say there is like to make sure when you're going to that list of certifications, I think it's tempting to just take it and throw it on your resume, but I wouldn't take like a Google AdWords certification if you're not actually interested in search engine marketing. Just be thoughtful about how you spend your time and what you really want. Mm-hmm. My piece of advice would be like, as a consumer, like as a student, as like a young person, you are the subject and the target of so much digital marketing every day. I think we just kind of like are so used to it at this point, we don't notice. Right. I would say start noticing, like start paying attention and figure out like, are there trends you're seeing? Are there things you think are actually super effective and you like versus things you're like, oh, like if I was in a marketing team with that brand, I would definitely like not do that, or I would do it differently. One example is the next time you go to like an e-commerce website or even a blog, personally, 9 times out of 10, I get a huge pop-up that gives me some kind of perk for putting my email in. Like a lot of e-commerce sites will offer you like 20% off. They're trying to get you to sign up for kind of sell alerts, text alerts now too, I've been noticing. Right. And if you get 20% off your order, that's like a monetary amount they are willing to give up in order to get your email. Like right. That kind of tells you something about like how much email marketing is like starting to matter to these brands now. Or, if you're interested in social, start paying attention, follow some brands on Twitter or on Instagram, see what you like, see what you don't like, kind of start developing your own opinions. Mm-hmm. Burger King just got in very hot water for an International Women's Day tweet recently. If you're headed into an interview where you're going for a social media position, do you have a point of view on like what you would have done differently, what you would have changed, like why that was a bad move for them? Like kind of start thinking one level like more analytically about it and putting yourself like on the other side of that marketing and what you think. Got it.
Yeah, it's interesting how you mentioned also text where people put in their phone number, which I see now a lot of businesses are trying to do, where not just your emails, they're trying to get onto text and setting out kind of updates on products and discount. So kind of talking about the future of digital marketing. I guess what do you think will be the new platforms that will pop up in digital marketing? I know I forgot what the app is called, but it's like this new platform where it's only voice only.
Oh, Clubhouse.
Yeah, there you go. There's just this different ways and approaches of our digital lives. So I guess in the next 5 to 10 years, what kind of technology do you think we will be on and marketers will also be around there?
So I have to admit, I'm pretty new to Clubhouse. I'm pretty new to TikTok. Like, I don't think I'm the person to look into their crystal ball and predict what apps we'll all be using in 5 years. But I think in terms of where digital marketing is going to go and how we're going to have to get smarter about those platforms is, I don't know about you, but I have like mental ad block. I have literal ad block on my computer and, on my phone or maybe on like different devices. I just kind of like tune out the ads on my Instagram, the like little videos that play before like the real YouTube video I'm trying to watch. Like my brain just goes on vacation for like 5 seconds or half a second or however long it takes. So I think brands are going to have to get more creative with creating content that people actually want to see, actually want to engage with, because the old, push advertising model just isn't working. Like it's white noise for people.
Right.
And I think the other side of that we also have to balance with like data privacy and like, like frankly, like creepiness when it feels like a brand is like stalking you or reading your mind with Instagram ads is how do we create a better marketing experience for people across their Instagram, like across their YouTube, like on mobile versus on their desktop, because there's nothing more annoying, for example, than like seeing a sweater ad on your Instagram. You're like, okay, I really like that sweater. I'll buy it. You buy it. And you're still getting that sweater ad all over your laptop, on different social platforms, because the company can't tell that you bought it. They can just tell you looked at it. So like, buy this sweater, even though it's kind of like too late for that, it's done. And instead, I think that obviously becomes annoying and backfires. And so just being smarter about not pestering the consumer more than we have to, and thinking about, if we can connect these different devices or these different platforms, like how do we create a better experience?
Yeah, that's interesting because I know a lot of that social media or like platform are also allow people to pay to block ads. So yeah, companies definitely do have to get smarter and kind of fit within those kind of pieces of content to reach their audiences.
This isn't digital, but I think a good example of how this has been done to varying degrees of like, in the past is like product placement on TV. Sometimes you can like really tell that like a certain company paid like, let's say $1 million for just like a 5-second zoom in on their product in an episode. And on the other hand, I think you see it done, pretty successfully. Like I'm biased, I obviously work for Microsoft, but I think what Microsoft partnerships with like Shondaland do really well, like Grey's Anatomy, for example, is like the doctors happen to use surfaces like that all the time to treat their patients. And it's a little less aggressive. And I think some people might be like, oh, is that really effective? But I think you avoid that backlash feeling where as a consumer, you never want to feel like something's being shoved in your face or like shoved down your throat. I think those kind of like more subtle long-term partnerships make sense.
Right. Got it. I know we don't have a limited amount of time and we really appreciate you being here. So is there one last advice that you'd give to a marketing student, just in general, maybe in their junior year, senior year, trying to figure things out, what they want to do?
I would say, like I did in the beginning, literally look up like different types of marketing, like cool marketing jobs you didn't know existed. Look back through the AMA blog. We have so many recaps and kind of like articles and posts about different roles, like different speakers' experiences. Just figure out what's out there. I think you will never like truly realize how vast marketing is until you're in it, but you can kind of get a head start and at least figure out what some of your options are.
Right.
And then B, like, please really be honest with yourself about what you want and like what interests you and what you're passionate about. sometimes that's exactly the same as what you're good at. Sometimes it's not. Just because you're good at something doesn't mean like it's your long-term career that you can really invest yourself into.
Mhm.
In foster, in my experience, at least when I was there, sometimes it felt like success looked a certain way, or it meant working for a certain company or having a certain job title.
Right.
That's just not true. It's so much more worth it to be like really happy and excited about your work,
Mhm.
even if it feels less quote unquote impressive to like your family or like someone random in your class, than to end up on a path that is quote unquote successful, like according to everyone else at that school, and
Yeah.
not really be excited about what you're doing.
Right. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming by and sharing your thoughts and experiences. Is it okay if I put a link to your LinkedIn or any way that other students can connect you?
Oh, definitely. Feel free to reach out. I am an open book and happy to chat.
Right. Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you for people who are watching. We will see you in the next episode of the Home for Marketers podcast. See ya.
Thank you.
Thank you.